Hey guys, what's going on here on this beautiful Thursday evening? What I would like to know is what's going on in this Moscow, Idaho case. Nobody knows really what's going on. I fear and I feel that this is an open-ended story because of the gag order. Because I don't know what's going on in the case. You guys out there in the YouTube community don't know what's going on in the case, and we really don't know what's going on because nothing new is coming out because of this gag order. So we have to speculate about everything and in our own opinions and stuff like that because we really don't know what's going on in the case and exactly how they came across Brian Koberger. Um, I feel that there is a possible informant in this case that turned the police onto him rather quickly in the investigation because there's no way that someone could get identified just because of their eyebrows, and that means uh, Dylan, who must have clearly got a good look at him that night, in my own opinion. To describe him as 5'10" or taller, um, not muscular built with bushy eyebrows. That's really a generic statement of somebody's description because we've been told it was dark in the house and other stuff like that. And if you've seen pictures of Brian out there, he has a very pronounced uh, forehead and an eye line. So if she was to see him, she would have to give a description of what his eyes look like. And all she came up with was bushy eyebrows and a man clad in black. So that's just a your basic generic statement of somebody's build and their eyebrows. I don't believe she actually saw Brian in the house that night. And then we get to the what Steve G stated, that the injury patterns don't match when it comes to Maddie and Kaylee and the other and Xana and Ethan. I mean, he's right. The injury patterns don't match because if you look, the coroner states that they all were stabbed. They all had stab wounds. But if you look in the PCA that Brett Payne was narrating, Brett Payne stated that Ethan and Xana had sharp force injuries by an edged weapon, and Maddie and Kaylee had stab wounds. So which one is it? Were they all stabbed in their sleep? Or was two stabbed and then two were just butchered? And getting back to Steve G with the injury patterns don't match. Could there have been two weapons involved in this? And if that's the case, the attacker would be holding a knife in one hand and a weapon in the other hand. But even that don't make sense because he would need a free hand. If there was quote unquote one hell of a battle going on, he would need a free hand. So could there have been a second attacker in the house that night? Is that why the injury patterns didn't match up? I mean, quite possibly there could have been a second attacker in there that night with a different style of weapon other than the K-bar. And if you look at if you look at what the coroner states, is that the wounds to Maddie and Kaylee were not like stab wounds. They were more like either gouging or tearing wounds. What kind of weapon would do that? A knife bigger than a K-bar, maybe a hunting knife, an axe, a golf club. We don't know. Because, yet again, it's the gag order coming into play. So, like I said before, this entire case is open-ended, leaving room for speculation and theories and everything else. Now, if they lifted the gag order, we might be able to learn a little bit more what's going on in this case. But they're not going to be lifting the gag order anytime soon, potentially not until trial next year. And even then, they may not lift the gag order then. If you know what I'm saying. So until they do that, we'll have our theories and our opinions and our speculations and our allegedlys. And I want to touch on the Brian Koberger Instagram that was messaging Maddie and Kaylee. Now, at the time that Instagram was created, Brian was in jail. And I think that Instagram account is a fake account because he was in jail at the time it was created. If you go back and look at the date of the creation of the Instagram account, he was already in jail when it was created. And what I'd also like to touch on is there's no motive here. There's really not. Because just like Ann Taylor has stated, Brian didn't know Maddie, Kaylee, Xander, or Ethan. He wasn't connected to them in any way. He didn't reach out to them on social media. So if there's no motive, then that means he's not guilty for these murders, because you would have to have motive in order to pursue these murders, and he had no motive because he wasn't connected to the victims. He didn't know the victims. And just like that Rainier guy said, the one that retired last year, which I'd like to know why he retired during this case, and Chief Fry's retiring this year so he could pursue sheriff. Why are these two law enforcement officials retiring in the middle of this case? That just is really fishy to me. That's really, like Drip Drop says, it's sus to us. I'd like to know what's going on with this. But yeah, I mean, everything just in this case. I mean, there's there's possible drug ties, there's possible informant ties, and yes, I believe that there's an informant. Why else would the law or the LE immediately look at Brian if he wasn't snitched on right away? And don't give me this, oh well, his car was seen in the area or around the house. That could have been any number of white Elantras there in Idaho or Washington. Just like why isn't everyone talking about the white Elantra that was wrecked in Oregon? And the Elantra tied back to Dan Estee because he'd sold that to a female. And yes, I do believe that there was a fifth roommate who had went to the hospital that morning. Because of a news official, she leaked a text message, which there are some content creators who still have that. I don't know their names that have it, but they still have that content on their channels. That a fifth roommate had went to the hospital early that morning before the cops were called, or it was even earlier that morning, and this person wouldn't have had to take the ambulance. They could have went by a private driver to the hospital. You don't have to always go by ambulance to the hospital. You can take your private vehicle, or you can have a friend come by, pick you up, and take you to the hospital. And I do believe that account about the fifth roommate is true. But yeah, this case just has my head spinning on a daily basis. It really does, guys. Because there's no transparency in this case. None. Not a big old goose egg. There's no transparency in this case. Because you have the prosecutor sealing up everything. And you have Brian, who wants transparency in this case, in this trial. So does Ann Koberger. They want transparency. But what is the prosecution and the state trying to hide? Really, what are they trying to hide? Are they another making the statement, oh, we're doing this to protect the defendant's right to a fair trial? That's all well and good, but you still need transparency in this proceeding and in this case. Because if you keep doing what you're doing, this is my own opinion, if you keep doing what you're doing, that raises serious red flags on what the state is trying to hide. And why they told Steve G, don't get too close to the informant. Who's the informant? It could be any number of people we don't know. We don't know who the informant is. I mean, we have our guesses and we have our opinions, but when it all comes down to it, we really don't know who the informant is in this case. If there is one, I believe there is one. And could these murders or these killings been some type of retribution for somebody's parents informing on somebody else? But if it wasn't a cartel hit, because if it was a cartel hit, then with cartels, they don't go in there stabbing. They go in there guns a-blazing, or they blow your freaking house up. It had to be a lower level street person carrying out these murders. I'm kind of wondering if possibly Tyson Farley or Tanya Rose, or both of them. But, I haven't laid my finger on it yet. I'm still doing my digging. I'm still doing my research. I know they both were arrested. They both were being held on $100,000 bond for trafficking, and they both were released on probation. So I don't know what's going on with that. But like always, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And hit that bell notification for any new uploads. You guys have a good day and peace.
Darling.